We are just days away from the beginning of a new competitive season of Star Wars Destiny.
Today we talk about primes, what to expect from this weekend's events, and share some of our own tournament experiences.
Reminisce on the good times from last season and prepare to make some great memories this season with the Chance Cube podcast.
This is episode 144, Prime Time for Primes.
You have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Oh, do not.
I'm not afraid.
Please don't try.
No,
Welcome back to another week of the Chance Cube, the Prime Time for Primes. We are just admiring Mike Hill's handiwork, who jumped in to do the script since I am living death at the moment. So I apologize for both my appearance and my tone of voice.
I dig it. He looks kind of like Palpatine.
You do. You got kind of
it's my solo hoodie. It says, I have a good feeling about this.
That's awesome, actually.
I didn't even know. That's awesome. Well, you don't wear very many hoodies, so I guess that's probably why I've never seen you in it.
I do not. I wear hoodies when I go to places where hoodies need to be worn.
I was like, when I see you, we're not in a place that requires a hoodie.
No.
Fair enough.
That's, yeah. Yeah, so Destiny, it's interesting because as we go up to Worlds, Destiny's been somewhat quiet this week. And everybody's talking about, I say everybody, some of the major groups out there are talking about the balance of the Force and how the meta is going to change. And there's been some speculation out there that these articles are actually changing the meta themselves because people are just going to listen to other content creators. And so I want to tell everyone to go out and play Palpatine.
I think that we should resurrect Jar Jar and friends.
Jar, please take a Gungan deck to Worlds.
Take a Gungan deck.
Okay, so it's like I could do that, right? there's not anything actually stopping me from doing that. No. I would probably do it too. I'm kind of crazy. At least with regard to deck choices, I make poor choices.
You make poor choices, yet you win primes. So.
Yeah, well,
I make poor choices and come in last, Mike.
That's more in spite of my poor choices. That has very little to do with actual preparation and much more to do with incredible luck. But yeah, it is what it is. I think it will be interesting to see what's played this weekend, because I do wonder if some of the new ideas that we've seen pushed are really good or if they're just ideas that have been pushed because they make sense and are kind of easy to write about. I don't know. I'm not calling anybody out. I haven't seen anything that's been like, wow, that's so cool since things changed. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm going to maintain that if any of these, high caliber players are sitting on a secret sauce, they're not going to tell you about it. You may think that but they're not going to tell you about it. Why? I wouldn't. If I were that good, I'm not, but if I were that good, that's my secret sauce. You go try to figure it out yourself. I will help you with other things to be prepared for, but that's my secret sauce.
It'll be interesting.
So I feel like they have the ability, they could influence the meta in a way that could be more favorable for said secret sauce.
Sure. I mean, if you have the entire world looking at you, and you were saying this is what the meta is, and you were encouraging people to go a certain direction, and then you bring something that counters that direction. I mean, I don't think anybody's outright doing that.
It's like unlimited power, right?
And I would say it this way, though, right? It's much easier to make a meta call or to play something that's sort of a control deck at all in an established meta. Like, there's always this, I think there's a big misconception that when a meta first changes, like, that's when you can play the really cool secret stuff. And I actually think that's when decks like just established aggro decks are always going to be better because we already know they work and they do what they do. It's once you've had a week or two to really see what's going on, or longer than that, or maybe just hundreds of test games. I don't know. It depends on your life, I guess. But, when you get to a point where you really see what things are like, then you can counter it. Mm-hmm. I think it's really hard to play anything that's like a counter when you don't have events. And so it's kind of nice in that sense that they're not requiring Worlds deck lists until a few days before the event. Because it does allow 2 weeks of primes to happen. And if someone with very savvy sort of control player, they might have a shot to play something anti-meta. But
so they are, this is news to me, they are asking for deck lists before the first day of play this year?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't know that for sure, I guess, but I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Okay. Because I know that was been kind of the thing the last couple of years, right? That your deck list gets turned in before before you play your first game, which means day 2 and day 3 get a slight advantage because they get to see the day 1 meta.
Yeah, and I feel like we talked about that. Maybe when they made the first announcement that there was something that all of them had, so that there wasn't that advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, yeah, because
I feel like that was somewhere.
Like, and if I'm day 1B and day 1A played Kylo Ren, then it's like, well, my deck list is going to look a little different than it would have if I had not seen that. So it makes a ton of sense, and I don't think you even want to begin to invite that because it does create some just sort of weird situations where you have advantage you should.
So what day are you, Mike?
I'm day 2. I'm day 1B.
Day 1B. There you go, Tab. Mike's day 1B. And me and Kim are watching from afar.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm going to totally scrub. It's going to be great. I'm going to go X3 in like a couple hours. Play side events.
It's all good. I look forward to it. I can't wait to hear all the crazy stuff that happens at side events. And speaking of side events, I'm so sorry. I'm going off the script because I just remembered something. Bill Jolly, who runs the
Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame, yes, thank you. Was messaging me, and his local did a 40-40 standard.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And he said, and most people in his group went with thematic decks because it's easier to do so with that combination. He took Elite Maul, DJ, and a Battle Droid with a ton of removal.
Yeah.
Played against a 6-die Zeb Ezra Chopper. That's awesome.
That's cool. No, that's cool.
An Afra-themed deck, an IG-88 Zuckuss Jabba deck, totally built around bounty hunting. So
that's absurd.
That's pretty cool. So
how would you even remove dice? Well, I guess if you're an infinite, you could. I'm telling you, it's all Jedi. It's Luke Elite at 15, and then Ayla, and then Yoda. The 13, the 12, and the 15. You're at 40 with 6 Jedi dice.
That's pretty nice.
Abilities all over the place. It'd be sweet. I have not tested that at all. It could actually be terrible, but I'm going to assume it's not.
So I guess that's an interesting question, right? How many people are going to play the side events, and then will there be any testing previously, or I don't know. Are you going to test your 40-40s?
I'm just going to YOLO that. I don't know what will happen. I only live once, so I have no idea.
I think everybody's going to have to do that too. I mean, anybody who's trying to be seriously competitive at Worlds is going to be, polishing their standard deck. So
right, yeah.
I mean, it's asking a lot for me to do that, even so. We'll see.
You have to pick one first, right?
I have to pick one, but I haven't picked the deck yet. So I guess that's your hot take. I don't even know what I'm playing at Primes this weekend, let alone Worlds.
Hey,
I'll decide in the car right on the way up.
Look at that. Speaking of Primes, we're going to hit that as a segue into the news.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
This weekend is the first weekend of our new Prime season, which is really exciting. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the new Holocron does come into effect this weekend. So it is our first taste at what the meta will evolve to based on the recent Holocron updates with the Balance of the Force and the new restricted cards. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of competition is out there, and how, of course, Primes are slightly more local. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 according to FFG's website this weekend.
Regional based.
Yep.
And our one and only Mike Hill has made the impromptu decision to attend one this weekend.
I'm going to play in Ohio just because, I live there and I feel like I should. It's close enough. It's like, let's go play. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, let's go play. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, let's go play. And I'm like, well, maybe. And he's like, let's go play. And I'm like, okay.
That's a lot.
It took at least 4 tries, but yeah, I think we're going to play. It'll be fun. I have no idea what I'm going to play. I'm just going to kind of wing it.
That's cool. I mean, I guess we'll find out next week what you decided to play.
Yes, you will. And probably how it went. But, it's one of those things. There are a lot of good players in this area, so I don't have high expectations for myself, but I will do the best I can, and we'll see where that goes.
This coming from the guy who won the last Primes in the area. This guy.
Yeah, when it was still regionals. But I was playing a ridiculous deck then, too. It just happened to work. Sometimes those calls work.
I remember that.
Yep.
That was your first appearance on the show after that.
It was. It was December 7th or 8th or something of last year.
Wow.
It was early in the month.
Who knew he'd get to this point? I'm sorry.
I know. It's like almost a year later. No, but this weekend you can play in Arizona, Colorado, Kansas, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, or Texas. And if you happen to be playing in Ohio, you'll probably see me.
Yay! That's
crush
exciting.
my hopes and dreams. But
Crushes hopes and dreams, everyone.
please do. I won't be upset.
He's a pretty chill guy. I can vouch for that.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever seen Mike tilted or angry at a game.
It helps in big events not to get too tilted. That's probably the biggest thing, actually, in an event like this. But
I figure you already have that cool you work with teenagers all the time, so you already build up some patience.
yeah,
and
there's
whatnot.
not a whole lot that other players are going to do that is worse than what students do.
Right.
And I say that with all the fondness in the world for the kids that I teach, but they can be difficult. They're just at that age, so what do you do?
What do you do
You get better at dealing with people, I guess.
with a Klondike bar? I'm sorry, we don't have a trademark to that.
It's all good.
Sorry. Someone help me. So the primes this weekend, we had a couple nationals this last weekend, which was pretty exciting. Of course, these nationals were pre-Holocron updates. So we had the Nordics, which your Destiny did a lot of streaming for. One with a Satine droids, which included lots of weapons, and Admiral, which is, I believe, a slightly different build than we normally see.
It is.
I think so.
Different take on that. And then Greece, which as we hear was a low turnout, because I don't know, we don't hear a lot about the Greece meta. I apologize if I insulted anybody who's from Greece and watching this show or listening to this show. Thank you for listening. If you're watching the show, it's like 4 a.m, so go to bed.
Hi, Greece. Yeah.
I like Greece. Greece is cool. Who won his event with Elite Django, Sentinel Messenger, Battle Droid with the plot lightsaber mastery. And it's mostly an upgrade package. It seems like a fairly aggro deck from just looking at the deck list that he's posted over at the Facebook group.
This is a bizarre pile of cards, but
Yes.
it worked.
But it worked.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like you wouldn't see that coming. You know what I mean?
No. It reminds me. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's using some of the Palpatine stuff, like the back to therapy and sort of the upgrade stuff. Arm to the Teeth, obviously, a cool surprise. Pop, you're dead. But
Yep.
it's yeah. I mean, Respite's good. This is bizarre. Like, it could definitely work. I like it.
It clearly did.
I like it when stuff like this wins.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's great.
Oh, you too.
I wish I knew how many players were there. There was very little reporting. The player who won was the one who posted this deck. And I know it's kind of hard to compete since Nordics was the same weekend, and your Destiny pretty much has that coverage locked down. So that's where everybody
They
was
do a
watching.
good job with that. Yep.
Well, yeah, and I mean they are the meta down there, and they've you don't expect to you expect a hotbed of content and skilled players to come from that region, but they put Denmark on the map as far as Destiny goes. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm still looking at this deck. This is actually really cool. I feel like I like it. I'm worried that when Django dies, you just lose, though. Like, you would have to get off.
Yeah.
You would definitely have to see it back to therapy, like, quickly, because a lot of the aggro decks, they could drop him turn 2. I don't know. Maybe they could win. I mean, obviously did. So, yeah, cool. Congratulations, fam. That was a good win.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So as far as Destiny news goes, that's roughly it. The seats for the remaining seats for the Worlds have opened. So if you need a 1B seat, there may still be some. I haven't heard they sold out yet.
Where did I see?
Yeah.
Was it what day was that? There would be 75 1B seats available.
Wow.
I don't know how many it is. I know that
I forget what day it was.
at least some of what happened is all the reserve seats expired.
Yep.
We
On
had
the
until,
30th, yep.
Yeah, we had until September 30th to claim them, and then if we didn't, they were, I assume, returned to the pool. So,
I just saw that post from Matt, but now I don't recall what. Maybe it was today that there would be 75 1B seats.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember the number, but I know it was today, and I know that I haven't seen anything about them being out. So, if you have some crazy desire to drive up there on a Saturday and, again, crush my hopes and dreams, feel free.
Crush the dreams. I wonder if he's going to make it. Because does the Grand get you airfare and a hotel? Or is it just nationals?
Actually, I have no idea.
I think maybe that changes here, where the Grands maybe have, because it'd be great if this guy came to Worlds. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh yeah,
the guy with this Django deck. Yeah, unless it's for next year. Of course, didn't they say you could pick if you're later in the season?
I thought so.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And it's cool because historically at Worlds, like, your name badge has whatever Grand or National that you won listed on there. That got you that seats, which is kind of a nice little, bragging rights, I guess.
Well, that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
It is pretty rad. You're going to have to send us a picture of yours.
Mine's going to say something like Scrub wins Ohio Regional.
Where are the guys? I need you to make those shirts and wear them to Worlds with him.
I'm with this guy.
I'm going to get in the chat, and I'm going to...
Everybody wears shirts. Like on Mike. That's what you should do, actually.
That's awesome.
Force Friday is for this Friday.
Oh, there's that other thing that we think that, well, we don't think there's not going to be anything coming out, but it would be kind of a nice surprise.
Yeah, we had a whole little moment last week where we talked about what it should be. Like, if there's a surprise 2-player set, who should be the surprise 2-player characters?
So that means you should go listen to episode 143.
It does. You're just going to hear me say something that you're not going to like. Where I talk about Finn and Rose buddy deck. I'd play it.
I like it.
Me too.
That's funny. Yeah, right. I don't know. I did hear a whisper. I don't know how credible it was in one of the groups that I was in, so that we could see another. They were going to start showing trailers during Maleficent.
That comes out soon, right?
Yes.
Like, really soon. They just had the red carpet for it recently. I only know that because
I was just at the... Yeah, sure, Mike.
Like, I saw a tabloid that was like, look how grown up Angelina Jolie's children are. And I didn't, but I assume they are more grown up than they were a couple years ago. So...
Funny how that happens.
It would lead me to believe that it must be soon.
I think it is. I was just at the movie theater yesterday, but I don't remember.
I need an off-topic button.
I'm still talking about Force Friday. I'm talking about a trailer.
For Star Wars.
Sure.
That's a thing. Let's go ahead and jump into our discussion topic that Mike has so graciously picked out for us.
But you know what I always say. Speak softly and drive a big tank.
Mike, why don't you lead us through what you want us to talk about?
Oh boy, I wrote lots of stuff. I like to talk. So I'm gonna sort of flip right now, right? And I'm gonna interview you guys for a second.
Oh no!
Because I have this tendency.
Jason doesn't like this. It puts him on edge.
No, see, it's great because Jason can't be wrong answering this question. So I'm gonna run through 3 questions about Star Wars tournaments, and we can either answer them one at a time, or I can read all 3 and you can answer them all at once. Do you guys have a preference?
I say one at a time. I can't sustain long dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I will start with Kim. I'm going to go out of order.
Oh, no.
What was your best tournament experience as a Star Wars Destiny player? I'm not asking like the best finish. I'm saying what was your best tournament experience?
I think it was still one of the, I don't know, maybe first or second tournaments I played in at Epic Loot.
Okay.
And I was playing Baby Vader and Nines.
It's going way back.
Because it's either between that or when I played Han Leia.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Because I remember I was playing against someone who would later become one of the North American Grand Champions.
Oh, nice.
So I felt pretty good about myself at the moment. He wasn't that yet. It was still pretty early on. But I just remember his reaction when I played Second Chance on Han. And I finally felt like I did okay. Like, he was not happy that I played that. And I was like, I made the right choice in my deck. Like, I might know what I'm doing. And then we added more cards, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But in that moment,
That's
I
awesome.
was like, I got this.
Heck yeah. All it takes is
It was fun.
one good call, one good tournament. You get cool stories. Jason, how about you?
Oh, I have so many great memories from tournaments. All the ones that I played 3 years ago. There's two that stick out. I'm going to go with, and it was just I don't know what day we were playing on back then. Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. Standard weekly at the local. I think we had like a dozen or 14 players back then. And a local that I won that I was excited about because I'm historically not the best player, but it was for the longest time I was also avoided going to the database. Right, I would build the decks that I wanted to build, so it was gratifying to win an event with a deck that I constructed without the input from the masses. And I can't remember what it was. It was a mono blue Luke something, back in the first standard. I can't remember what the tricks in there were, but it was a lot of it was just fun. It was fun to win game after game and then do a top 4 and top that match. So it was I don't know. I guess because it was a deck that I constructed without the input from the world.
Absolutely. There are
That's
very few things that compare with like Top Cut with a custom deck. That's like the pinnacle for me of like card gaming is you made it to a respectable place with something that you made yourself. I think that's awesome. And no disrespect to net deckers, of course. I think that's a good way to become a good tournament player. But there's a lot to be said for kind of making your own thing and throwing it out there. I like it. How about your lowest tournament moment? Go Jason and Kim this time. Jason, what's your lowest tournament moment?
Like
the nadir of your Destiny experience when you were like, man,
I'm never going to play anymore.
Dang it. Yeah. I can't really say how I would feel and be family friendly, but that moment where it was like, oh man, I stink.
Actually, it was Worlds. It was the first Worlds, and my wife and I were both playing. Like that was when she was playing very regularly. She stopped playing when she had the child, but we were both playing fairly regularly. We had just come off a fairly good placement at a local store champ. Both of us, right? I think she top 16, I top 8'd, or it was 8-4. I don't remember. When she was playing her variation on a Pomaz, it was less aggressive, I think, than most people were playing. And what was I doing? Palpatine. Was that the first Worlds? No, that can't be the first Worlds.
First Worlds was still Vader
just
Raiders.
Awakenings.
Yeah.
So what was I playing? I was playing Rey and Poe.
Okay, that deck was cool.
And she was playing... I would have to ask her what she played. I want to say it might have been Han Rey. Might have been Kim's favorite pairing. I don't remember what it was. I just remember that both of us did I think we went 2-4 in the first day, and one of those for each of us was a buy or like a concession. Like one of the guys that I played like round 5, literally just drew a card and passed. I was like, can you just concede, please? This is a miserable experience for me. And we left. I think we left that event, and it was the first time I've teared up over this game. Right? You think you come in with something decent, and then you just get smashed because you've never played at the world stage before. Yeah, that was a hard one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim, what about you?
I think it's probably went to a store championship. It was pretty small. It was not an Epic League. And was playing a vehicle mill deck. So that Rose, I'm trying to think who else was in it. So something not very characteristic for me to play.
Yeah.
But every game was coming down to, it was playing well, but it was always just, I did that one thing wrong in every game and I lost.
Yeah.
So there were only 5 of us there for the store championship. So I only had to come in top 4 to get something. And I couldn't do it. I still came in 5th.
No,
and it was more frustrating because every game was so close. If I could just have gotten, and I think if I had played that deck a little more, I would have done better with it. But it was just something that wasn't necessarily on pace with how I normally play.
Yeah.
It was a little slow. So I struggled with the deck because it was slower than what I was used to.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and Jim had a tough day because he had built a homebrew Obi-Wan something, and it looked pretty good. We played against each other, and it played really well. And he did better than I did, and at least came in top 4. And
yes.
But
well,
we were both
one of you
pretty
would have to.
frustrated that day. Yeah. Mathematically, one of us had to.
Yes.
But we were both pretty frustrated that day. I'm glad that it was on it was a pretty, like I said, pretty small store championship.
Mm-hmm.
We were mostly playing with friends, so I wasn't near as embarrassed as if it had been on a broader.
Yeah, absolutely.
spectrum.
So I guess I bring this up, right, because I think that the cool thing that gets lost sometimes about the competitive season is it's not just about the players who always make top 4. Like, if you're on the fence about attending something like this or doing something like this, the memories that you make, like good and bad, are a big part of the reason we play the game. And so, we talk about the Chance Cube sometimes as being a little bit more casual than some of the other content creators. And I even wonder if casual is the right word as much as the focus is just on the experience. It's like you're going to go and you're going to do your best and have fun, and you're going to make friends and have great stories and bad stories. And that's awesome. That's what gaming's about. So, I bring those things up because I think that if you want some of that for yourself, there's no reason not to go play. That's a lot of the reason I decided to go play in Cleveland. I might suck, I might not, I don't know, but I look forward to going and, seeing friends and meeting new people and coming up with new stories. So to that end, I would ask you guys, any plans to try anything out? Are there any primes close to you? Do you know, or locals you're going to start, looking at this season, or is it just on the radar? Not
one
on the
fairly
radar,
close to me.
There is, Kim. There's one literally.
There's one real close to me.
November 2nd.
And it is on my radar, but more from I think for me is wanting to try to get more streaming stuff to share. I think that's almost more of what a focus is before I jump back in and play. Because I think it's helpful from that standpoint. I found this out even at Nova, is how much you learn about different decks and playing just from watching that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And I look forward to that because that means that my local store will probably get streaming content, which means you guys are going to have to see even more of the nonsense that I bring.
This is true.
And Kim, too. What about you, Jason? Have you thought about it?
I need to put all the local primes in the calendar. For better or worse, I'm in the same neighborhood as Andrew Cox, who does a lot of streaming for the Hyperloop, so I don't know if I'll be bringing my rig down to the local primes if they've already kind of taken that on. But I miss playing in those tournaments, for better or for worse. I like going to my local on Saturdays, if my work schedule allows me to, because that's where my best friend runs the shop, so it's just it's fun to go and hang out. And like you said, meet the people, right? Most of every tournament I go to, most of the tournaments I go to, I place pretty low, and it doesn't matter to me. I don't care, Like you said, it's the experience, and that's kind of what I've resolved to at this point. As kind of Kim's point, we've shifted our focus from best of the best to that experience, that being the ones who bring the news out to the world and sharing what's out there, but still. Not only reporting on the event and the decks, but the players themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, though. It's that fellowship of the community that's probably one of the best parts of Destiny. That's what I enjoyed going to Nova for, going to Worlds. I didn't play at either one of those, but had just as much fun interacting with everybody that was.
Absolutely.
And I'm a people person from that perspective.
That's why I bring you along.
People person. Not always a people person, but a lot of times that's the part that is. Because I'm going to be the chatty person in our game back and forth, and I have learned that some people do not care for that. So for me, it's better to. I can do it at our local like crazy and joke and heckle and oh, that was a stupid play. I kind of joke about myself playing, but I don't say anybody else's plays are stupid, just my own. Not just to clarify. Because I'll see it as soon as I do it, oh, why did I do that? That was dumb. Oh, well, I did it. Let's keep going.
If I know I have missed cut, I will start playing just You know what I mean? Where your risk reward is so minimal, and I'll just do
Yeah.
everything because I think it's funny. Yeah, like if something will work, it works. If you're still in line for cut, I mean, don't do that.
I
like
did
to
get
start
that.
having-
I did get that. What was it? Planetary environment? What? Or no, plane explosion, right?
Yeah.
What did I get to fire off? That's the only time in my lifetime that card's going to fire. I did get it to fire on my kill.
It was like a planned
It was
explosion. You blew me up with it. It was
beautiful.
hysterical. I laughed. I laughed because it was like, what?
It was beautiful. It's the only time. That's what it should have been my favorite, but it wasn't a tournament. But
No, I think you're just replaying. That was funny though.
it never should have worked ever, and it totally did. And it was awesome.
That's the best stuff.
And I agree, that's the best stuff.
And I don't know if that's like a prime strategy. It is if you're me and you make poor choices. But I don't know that if you're trying to top 16 something, you should be playing Planned Explosion. But it
I
creates
might.
the best moments. You know what I mean? It really does. I think that kind of thing is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess kind of following along with that then, and these questions kind of go together. So let's say you're going to go to a prime, right? So you're in my shoes, right? You're going to play on Saturday, and you're trying to make a choice about what to play. Because I sincerely don't know. And so you have to start making that choice between, do you play a rogue deck or homebrew that you just kind of come up with, or do you play the established meta? And to that end, is the meta even going to be? It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would throw another question at you guys. Could a rogue deck win a prime? Do you think that's likely? And if you had to pick, could you pick a character pairing you'd like to see make it, even if you're not sure it's good enough?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So I'll do Jason and then Kim. So again, could a rogue deck win? Yes or no, I guess. And then if a character pairing could top, which one would you like to see?
I absolutely think a rogue deck can win, and that is primarily due to the fact that not every prime is going to have 70 people and full of people vying to worlds test their decks. You're gonna have those smaller communities who are their prime maybe 16 or 24 people. Or for me, right, I'm not testing for worlds, so I'm not going to be building a Satine droids deck or whatever the hot tamale is right now to take to my local primes.
Whatever the new kids are playing.
What other kids are playing?
Right.
And I would love to see. I'm fascinated by bounties. I would love to see more of that play. And there was someone who had a deck at my local last time I was there, and he did fairly well with it. And I can't remember what the pairing was, but I know IG88 was involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting strategy. That's when you think about tiers, is it tier 1? Probably not. In the right hands, it could. It's a lot of fun and still potent when you get out there.
Yeah,
and Tab in the chat would like to see a Yoda deck kind of make it up to the top there. I'd love to see the new Yoda get some love.
New Yoda with Bale and the Admiral package is sweet, and if you practice with it, and you know what I mean, and take it to a prime, I do not think it's outside the realm of possibility of the top 8. It's just one of those things where, it has weaknesses to things that you might see and you might lose, but it does a lot of really cool things really well. So it'd be neat. I like Yoda. Kim, what about you?
I agree. I think a rogue deck could win a prime. And again, I think it varies on where you are, because there's still a lot of people that are going to take whatever they feel is the most competitive deck. But I'm kind of like you. I would much rather see some crazy rogue deck. I get excited anytime when Jason lists out when we're looking at big events and the deck pairings. I'm not looking for how many Ewok decks were there, how many this, whatever. I'm looking for where's that crazy weird one that snuck in there. Because I'm like you. That's what I like.
I don't know if you guys remember. You shared the Nova results. And I don't even remember where the deck was now. It might have been a Yoda deck, but there were a couple things that made day 2 that I was like, well, hope that guy wins. I didn't know anything about the player. I just saw what they played and thought, that's awesome.
And I still would love to see, I'm sad that Maul came out. We were so excited about that card, and he hasn't produced anything.
He's interesting.
But to be fair, that happens every set.
Every
There's a character who's like, yeah, and then he's like, yeah, that's nothing.
And maybe his character pairing is coming, because Darth Maul is definitely one of my favorite characters. in the
Yeah.
Star Wars universe, along with, and then I'm still sad that K2's never really. There was somebody that had a deck that did fairly well. It wasn't at Nova. I'm trying to think where it was, and K2 was in it.
I played him for a hot
Dang.
second locally, the new one.
Yeah,
With Mace doing like a, just play upgrades of Mace and try to beat him to death, K2SO sort of thing. It was cool.
yeah. It's still not quite right. Like the
No.
last K2 was a little, I don't know, maybe a little more fun, but a little bit harder to play because of that cost.
Yeah, that was
that ability cost
absurd.
thing.
He was cool. That was really hard to play. Mull might have his day. I've seen some Mull decks that I don't think are bad. But it's one of those things, someone's got to play it and practice it and bring it and show us what they've got,
Mm-hmm.
With Phasma down, you have options with Admiral now that are maybe reasonable. You can play Retribution.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's good, but you can try it.
But I think like this game was made for interesting character pairings, and I wish we did more of that. Like as a community as a whole. I'm not knocking anybody that net decks. If that's what works for you, that's totally cool. And I get why people do it. I mean, if you find a deck that's good, why not? If I'm here and you're there, why not try to play it? But I love seeing just crazy. I like people taking the game to its limit by trying out different combinations.
Right.
Well, and it's kind of too, why are you playing, right? Because if you're playing to win, it is silly not to look at net decks and try to decide what you're going to see and what you can play and what you might change for your tech cards and in a well-established strategy. Like, I don't think it's realistic to expect to win a big event if you don't familiarize yourself with those decks. It just isn't. But if your goal is, hey, I'm going to build this really sweet deck that does X thing, you can still hope to win games. It doesn't mean you're going to be bad. It just means that your job's harder.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You still probably have to look at every net deck list and know the list, even if you choose not to build it yourself. Because being surprised in the middle of a game and losing your sort of, your center is a problem. You have to at least sort of know what's going to happen before it does to win a game.
For sure. And Led in the chat says, if I was going to a prime, I'd bring some aggro like Kylo Phasma to scare mill players for Worlds. Then I could bring my support deck.
I wonder. There's this talk like Emil's back, and it's like so.
I don't know where it's hanging out.
Does this change really bring Mill back? This last Holocron? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't. I don't think there's enough cards to go with it yet.
It's like full disclosure. I am not a particularly good Mill player. I won a store championship playing Mill, and that was just a lot. Like I am not good at it. Because most of the time I would play it and just lose easy games. I would miss control that I should play or something like that. And so I'm the wrong person really to ask about Mill in the meta, other than learning how to play against it, which I'm okay at. So it's sort of like, that is interesting. I hope that you don't run into Mill at Worlds. Person in chat. Right. I'd like to tell you that you won't. But who knows? Someone's going to try it.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of, there's no way that the whole world would get behind this idea, but like kind of bringing decks and winning primes with certain decks to influence what would happen at Worlds, you'd have to have a pretty, that'd be like some high level conspiracy theory stuff.
You would. I wonder about that Kylo Phasma deck. It's lost a lot from when it was good before, because all the blue decks have. You pull Force Illusion and Ancient Lightsaber and these cards that were sort of the identity of that deck, and you replace them with cards that are okay, but are very different. And the only really effective mono deck in the meta is Kylo Ray. So it's Kylo 2's in a weird spot too, where if he's sitting across from Jabba, what are you going to call? You're going to have to guess a lot, unless you have like counterintelligence or something. So I'll have to see that. That's one that I know people are hyped on, but I think I would have to see it do well to believe the hype.
Sure.
I need evidence on that,
Absolutely.
So I have another one. And then I guess if there are people in the chat listening to us, I'd be happy to, maybe the three of us could try to answer questions for them. But I would just say, is it better to play a deck or is it better to play a deck you think is good that's maybe unfamiliar to you? So if you practice your, I don't know whatever it might be, your deck for a couple weeks and it's not where you want, and you see the shiny droids deck, or something else that's maybe done well recently. Better to play the deck you know, or the deck you think is the most powerful? Does experience matter? And I guess I would ask both of you guys that. What do you think? Should people play decks they know and are familiar with, or should they jump on these like? Because like these first 2 weeks of Primes, really 3 weeks before Worlds is not a lot of time to change everything about your playstyle.
Right.
So I guess to better formulate my question, if a deck does well, like this week or next week, are you going to jump ship on what you've practiced to play it, or are you going to stick with what you've practiced? Let me phrase it that way. This time I'll do Kevin.
Yeah, I would. Now I think there are some players that have the ability to do that. That you can hand them a deck and they're just going to play it well because they're just a skilled player. But Zach Bunn is a good example. Look how long he played Han Rei. When the meta wasn't even really Han Rei anymore, he'd practiced so much with that deck. He continued to do well with it in several different events. Yep. So I definitely think that it speaks volumes to be comfortable with what you're playing. You know that deck inside and out, and that makes you more prepared on how to. And you get a lot of experience going up against different decks with too, so you already know how the matchups work or what cards you have to counter certain things. Whereas I think with a new deck, you're still really trying to look for those symmetries.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Jason, what do you think, man?
I would agree 100%. I think I've made that same call myself, right? This deck has won 100 things, and you try to play it, and you just can't play it well.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to have a playtest partner at home for the longest time, where we could build, the 5 meta decks and then play our decks against them. But even then, neither one of us were skilled at those meta decks, so we're playtesting against things we don't know how to play them ourselves, which is kind of an interesting. It's an interesting practice. Playtesting is something we could do a whole show on playtesting. We'll save that for another day.
That'd be cool. We could do a show on playtesting. I would like that.
But
I'd have to start by saying the term playtesting bothers me. I just play Destiny. I don't necessarily.
I think ultimately, I think I was facing that at Worlds too, right? I had here's the 3 meta decks I built,
sure.
And then here's the deck that I played 100 times. And I went with the deck that I played 100 times because I felt better playing it. You knew when you drew the cards what to do with them, and you knew the possibilities because you've played them against so many different things. You can know how a deck works, but you can't hand a deck to someone and say, here's the 17 situations you're going to be in, and here's how you get out of them.
Exactly, that's a good point. A great points, actually.
You don't know what you're digging for. Like, if do I ditch my entire hand this turn for the next 5 cards, or do I like what I see in my hand? It makes sense, but I don't have the experience to know now with this deck I've never played before exactly what what is the answer in the next 5 cards, or do I have a future answer that I'm holding onto? I need to hold into it.
100%. General play tip: I aggressively discard cards at the end of turns if I know that I want something that I.
Yeah, I'm not as good. I should be better at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing that I don't do well.
It leads to these really funny situations for me though, where I'm out of cards a turn before I should be, because I know I do that. I pitch cards constantly, so it's maybe I could be better at that too. I might be the opposite extreme of the person that holds their cards all the time. I'm well, this is all garbage. Just draw their hand.
Yeah, I used to pitch to reroll too often. I used to pitch to reroll a lot.
Learning to know what to keep is tough.
It's like that Kenny Rogers song, man.
There you go. So chat, it's up to you. You don't have to ask any questions, mostly because you're just going to get flippant and perhaps not useful answers from me. But if you have any questions about primes, the 3 of us would love to answer them. And if you don't, that's fine too.
That is perfectly fine. Because then we'll just go answer last week's question, the question from the week before.
Hey, what's my Ewok's name? Did anybody? I missed that part.
Well, there was the minor difficulty of we never actually posted the question to the Facebook page.
Oh, that's right.
So we don't really know the Ewoks.
That's all right. Well, I've decided to name the cards Falcon, if anybody was wondering. It might change.
It's pretty extreme.
Your new car? Is it now the Falcon? I like it.
But it's all black, so it's.
I was gonna say, it's the wrong color.
It doesn't match the color scheme, so I don't know. It hasn't stuck yet. I've been tossing it around.
Wow.
For sure. I like it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into the answer from last week's question.
There can be no mistakes this time.
So last week, while I was out hee-hawing around playing at a festival, and you guys were hard at work, I would have traded you, just so we're clear about that. We asked,
what I do work.
how do you make the most during the end of a meta? And we've run into this all the time. There's this lull, there's this dead time. What do you do with it? So we have some good ideas out here. Brandon said normally we just run casual unless someone posts that they want to practice for a tournament coming up. One thing we did was make a fun game called 40-40 Highlander. Basically, it's a 40-card deck. You've heard of this. 40 points for characters, kickers, no elites. Ooh, so that messes up your Jedi plan.
It does. What is that? That's something like, I don't know, 8 Ewoks, Chirpa, and a bonus Ewok. I like 10.
Oh, Lord. So also, no negative point plots. Makes for some interesting pairs when you discard your reroll. You really have to think about what you're throwing away.
Yeah.
That's clever. I like that.
Or you're me and you just never think about what you throw away and regret it.
Yes, I've done that. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going for the damage. I don't care if I need this weapon.
Yup.
Marshall said we have a weekly competitive tourney and a weekly casual meetup night. I try not to bring the same character combo twice.
Yeah. We do something similar. We have a Wednesday tournament and a Thursday free play. So
I like where he said one week when he was really bored, he posted on his local community board for them to pick a character for him to play. And he ended up running a Palp 2 deck that was actually pretty entertaining and still undefeated at 2-0.
Kim, were you at the draft where I drafted like Elite Palpatine and Rob drafted Elite Obi-Wan?
Yes, I was totally there. I didn't have any of those great combinations. Let me remind you.
Awesome. Our last game was like a constructed game. That was so cool. Anyway,
it was very much one of those, who let them get that, is what it kind of boiled down to.
That was so cool.
I might have let that one of those Obi-Wans pass me. I can't recall now.
You did. I don't have a clue how I won that game, by the way, because his deck was way better.
That was funny.
But that was fun. That was a good event.
And
drafting. I miss drafting.
Last but not least, Mr. Tim Sutterth said we do deck building challenges. Tonight was Destiny Ladies Night. At least one named unique female character on your team. Upcoming challenges include single set, same, so field at least 2 different versions of the same character. Well, that's kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
A trip deck.
Kylo,
Deck must contain exactly 3 copies of 10 cards. The Battle Royale, a 4-person pod multiplayer with 1 non-unique character treated as an elite, and a deck of 20 cards that matches the color and affiliation of the character. That was done in Nova last year.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then massive infinite multiplayer, infinite builds against as many people show that night. Oh, Lord have mercy.
That's the kind of thing where everyone kills me instantly because I say something.
That's true. I totally see that happening. You, and then probably Scott. And then a free-for-all
Scott
from there.
All on himself. I would not, and I would too, actually, probably, but it would, it'd be when he played that 4th X-Wing or something. Right?
I do remember it was Nova last year that I played, that we did a or was it 2 years ago? I don't remember. I can't remember which one it was. That we did a multiplayer event, and I brought that Chewbacca that you remove a die and it does damage, but it does damage to your opponent too. But the way it's worded, you do damage to 2 different of your opponents as opposed to having to do yourself. I was instant target. It was unfortunate.
I think it was 2 years ago because I'm pretty sure I was there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun, but I think there was only one game where there was some sort of quasi alliance that I did halfway okay.
Well, you did those multiplayers. You have to take a deck. You have to take like a tier 2. You cannot take a top tier deck because you'll be targeted first.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something that looks somewhat not. It has to look not as dangerous. You have
political. I love it.
You do. It has to be. You have to look. You have to. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't have that really great a card. Oh, I guess I'll do damage over here. I mean, it's all a mind game how you play those.
Mm-hmm.
No one would believe me.
That's very true.
That's awesome.
I could pull it off because I'm probably not lying.
Yeah, that's
like,
how you
I
win.
don't know what this card does.
Yeah, except you actually do and you win.
Well, I think, because we're at that. I mean, if you're not going to Worlds, we're at the end of the meta right now for a lot of people. And this may be a stretch. It may be through the rest of the year. I know there are primes that are going to creep up here and there. I
have this feeling late January, early February, based on absolutely nothing but my own feeling.
I think you're right, though.
So it's going to be, it is up to us, the players. I mean, to some minor extent, FFG, but we know their attention is split on all their games, and they have trouble focusing on a single game.
They are the ADD of board game publishers.
But I would tell you,
unless you're Keyforge, yeah. Well, they just announced today some weird. They're taking one of their games and turning it into like an escape room thing, partnering with somebody in Canada. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I would say totally sincerely, I am psyched for Destiny through March. Because I love going to these events and meeting people and playing games. And it's like I said earlier, I just like building the experiences. I like going, and if I do well, cool. And if I don't, then, well, I should have done better.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be something that I like, So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I would like a new set, but bring on the competitive season.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I guess it's all in your perspective of it, right? Oh,
Yeah.
humdrum! I don't have a new set until March. This is all played out. But is it like we've only really played the top tier decks? There's an awful lot of characters that we haven't seen do anything yet. So there's still a lot of cards to play with. Mm-hmm. You're just picking the shiniest toys.
And I think I said last week too, and Kim, you probably even saw this, but as soon as Alliance was announced, there were like 5 people asking me if we could play Alliance and building teams in our local chat.
Mm-hmm.
Like instantly.
Yeah.
And as long as that is still happening, I can't worry too much, I think we'll have a holiday tournament, we'll play some cool stuff. Maybe steal some of these ideas from the
there's some great ideas here. I mean, get in some of the Destiny groups and share the ideas. Like if you're struggling to find, something new to bring to your local, then see what other people are doing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Can I ask next week's question?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Oh man. The question is this. Which character pairing do you think could shock the community and win a prize?
Uh-oh. Mike Hill says, whatever I'm playing.
That's right. I say whatever I'm playing that I haven't decided yet. That's I think will shock the community and win a prize.
That's right.
I may yet comment on that question right before the tournament starts with whatever I'm playing, just to be that guy. But
be that guy. You said you were going to do that last time to a question. You never did. So
no, I didn't. I was less involved in that, and it wouldn't have been as funny.
So if you're watching live, thank you. Please follow, subscribe. Amazon Prime is free to do a Twitch sub. You get our cool emote if you do that. We appreciate it. You're watching via YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification icon. I got tons of videos in my head that I want to do. And I mean, Mike, we're talking about some videos we want to do in the future. We are currently doing a weekly series on basically it's under. Thank you. Under Destiny news under 5 minutes, so the kind of the hot takes for the week are released every Sunday, usually really early Monday morning because I'm a procrastinator. If you're listening via podcast, please review us on your favorite podcasting app. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you to Matthew Scott, who keeps our Facebook page up and running and fact checks us in the chat. Thank you to all our Patreons. Please check out patreon.com/thechancecube for all the benefits. I promise the cards are coming out. Me and Kim are trying to figure out what to do with our Mr. Bones art because we made a mistake by doing Mr. Bones, which is a support, not a character. So we have this art that
it's really cool.
It's really cool. And I could do an alt art support card, but you really can't play with it because, it's a support card in your deck, and I can't promise it'll be the exact same size. And I mean, does anybody care? Mike Hill's thinking about it. And last but not least, please hit the App Store, iOS App Store for the Price Watch. I am off track because I feel like walking death right now. Something about a Price Watch app, and look at it because we do things. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Can we be done now?
Thanks, buddy.
We can be
finished. Take some medicine.
Yes, the Pepto.
We're back to our full strength normal crazy banter.
God, I hope so. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Later, guys.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our Price Watch, Meta Tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.